Right, we are live. I didn't actually play the intro, which is my bad. I'm gonna play it now anyways, because if I don't play it, Alex is going to kill me. Um, where is the intro? I don't see an intro. Right. Anyways, guys, we're here after a victory at Old Trafford. I won't say it was a special victory. Alex is not here. I don't know where he is, but he's not here, and that's fair enough. But George will be joining very soon, and it was a victory that will take 1-0 at Old Trafford. No, we can talk about the performance itself because it was definitely off. There was a lot of things that were lacking in my eyes. But the most important fact is that we got over the line. No watery. And I actually do have a watery eye, but we're still here. We're still here. We're surviving. And I think that performance was all about surviving because I'll tell you what, it was difficult. It was difficult because we know, looking at the United side, that they ain't nothing special in the first place, but the players that were starting in their lineup, we had to have taken advantage. So regardless of that, we did. We scored a goal, and it was almost given to us in a way. Casemiro playing very deep, and Havertz taking advantage with Trossard as well. But it's a game that was surprising, but at the same time, I don't think it was. I actually expected also to not be at their best in this game. The reason why I said is because you can see that we're just getting over the line at the stage of the season where we're fizzling out a little bit and we're a bit tired. And even if we have a week in between, the players aren't as sharp as they were during the running a bit earlier in the season. And also, I want to look at Mikel Arteta and go, look, you managed the game and we got over the line, but there was a part in this game, maybe it was just myself, that I was like, Mikel, make a good sub. We brought Martinelli, and that's fair enough. But the likes of Jorginho and Kivio and whoever, I felt we waited too long. And we'll talk about individual performances as well. But we'll start off with, I guess, Thomas Partey, who I think was just very loose in this game, very naive at times. I think his decision making at times was questionable. And we know his quality and how when it works off, it's amazing. But I think in a game like this, where you want a bit more security and a bit more safety, maybe it was a game for Jorginho. Maybe. But regardless, we got over the line, and you know what? That's what it matters. So let's see what the comments are saying. The pitch looks unplayable. I'm not sure about the pitch itself. I think it was just annoying because you look at United's team and you go, right, they're missing their main centre backs. They've got no Bruno Fernandes. They've got no Marcus Rashford. Let's go there and let's have a statement performance. But I think at this stage of the year, we can only demand victories, and I think Mikel's, I guess, tactics against Spurs summed it up where we didn't go to Spurs to play our game. We went to Spurs and sat back and look, we were going to counterattack. So we're at this stage now with Mikel's, he's being a bit more pragmatic. And that's why I wasn't surprised in the way that we played today. But I think in terms of just the way we were pressing and our intensity, that was annoying. That's for sure. And I'm not quite happy with the performance, but look, all that matters is a result, and the fact that we're taking it to the final day of the season, and now I don't want to say that we're Spurs fans because we're definitely not Spurs fans, but Tottenham Hotspur, have you got something for us? This Tuesday against Man City. I am joined by the Canadian superstar that is George, who is about to enter right now. If he's can't really add him to the chat. It's a bit weird. Anyways, when I can, I will. There he is. I think he is now.
Hello, hello.
How we doing, bro? What do you
I'm
think of
good,
that?
bro. I'm good. How you doing?
I'm all good. I'm all good.
How is my sound? Is everything good?
Everything is good. Everything's good.
Awesome. Alrighty. If you want to get it started, and
We're already live. We're live.
we
George
are
thinks we're not
live.
live.
We are live. Wow.
We are live. We are live and direct. We've been live for 3 minutes.
my internet has been absolutely in shambles, mate. I don't know how to put into context the enormity of the occasion. Really, I mean, it's incredible. It's been I don't know, nervy 90 minutes, but in general, just super proud of the boys, mate. Just super proud of the boys. I think that when you're not playing well and you're at this point in the season, you've got to get through performance and essentially get the results. And so, yeah, no, it's been a good day. It's been a very, very good day.
Yeah, it has. And the comments are very impressed by the fact that George has a microphone. I think Alex right now is celebrating somewhere in the world that George has a mic, which is fantastic. But George, in terms of how we played, I think the comments are saying it, and I think a lot of Arsenal fans are saying it right now. It wasn't an amazing performance. It was actually pretty poor in quite a lot of aspects. So, where do you think it kind of went wrong performance-wise? Was it the fact that we're a bit tired, the fact that Mikel's tactics were a bit off, or maybe United caught us out a bit surprising by the way they played?
I mean, I think there's a couple factors. I mean, I think that there's a physical issue in the team at game week 37 when you're out here. But fundamentally, when I look at some of the play in the middle of the park, I just thought it lacked a major urgency. There was no physical impetus to really get going. Even from the back, I think our progression through the middle of the park was really, really poor. I think Thomas Partey had a difficult match. I don't think that he was somebody that played the right pass or even had the right touch. We really lacked a little bit of tempo from midfield in general, and I don't know if Martin Odegaard had one of his stronger games either. I thought he hit a little bit in midfield, and so our progression was stunted, and it felt like we were feeding off scraps. There was a lot of people that, for me, we kind of relied on the back line to really cut out chances. And while I don't think I ever felt worried about United chance really at any point in the match, I was more left annoyed with the way we were playing in possession as a team. And that's kind of the frustrating part, right? So but on the other hand, mate, like, you really have to contextualize this. We're going to the last day of the season in terms of trying for a title race, and that has to take precedence. So a little bit of nerves, a little bit of history coming into it. You could maybe argue a little bit of fitness concerns, but fundamentally, I feel like we could have done a lot better in possession. So that was really the frustration.
Yeah, I definitely agree. There's definitely more to expect from the performance itself. But, on the bright side, Arsenal will
Big
end
team
this year.
killers right there, eh?
Big team. And I think it's the fact that we relied upon our defense. And yeah, even though
Yeah.
it was a bit nervy at the end because the score is at 1-0 and anything's possible, I wasn't actually that concerned about, the quality of our defense. And the fact that we relied upon it is I guess it's credit to Mikel, because he's built a defense strong enough that they go, look, even if we're performing poor, we've got such a strong backbone that we can rely upon that to get us over the line.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's been the bedrock of our season, so I don't know why people are using it as a stick to beat the team with. I think really the biggest issue that a lot of fans had, at least I can only speak for myself, is the in possession play just wasn't good enough. It wasn't to the level that we've seen. Even if you are talking about a situation where, there are issues. Even if you were talking about from a nerves perspective, at least what you want to do is you want to play the fundamentals of the game. And I just think there were certain people that just really didn't have a good game. And, I'm looking at the midfield, and I think they should have done a little bit better in terms of taking care of the ball, in terms of making sure to take the sting out of the game, and also just play the pass that's on. There was far too many times that I just felt like a poor touch stopped the flow of the match. And I thought Kai Havertz, who's been generally really good in the last couple of weeks, was not an effective outlet in this game. I think we just went long for the sake of going long, and I don't think he was able to hold up the ball and give us a platform to play off of. And then when you combine that with, I felt like Martin had a very tough game himself. He wasn't able to turn under contact effectively. I thought he was good defensively, but then again, in possession, we really weren't offering too much. And then it's that man Trossard again, who potentially is invisible, but then influential with another seriously important goal involvement. And I think really it's tough to really go hard into the team because fundamentally I still felt like we created good chances. I think in the second half, Martinelli coming on, made some poor decisions in transition, but he definitely helped in terms of providing an outlet. And I felt like we lacked his pace. Really, we lacked that effective out ball, especially when we didn't have a platform from Kai Havertz to bring the ball into play. So yeah, mate. Like, I mean, I don't know about you. Like, I wanted to ask you. Like, we had a couple difficult performances. Like, who do you feel did well today? Who was your man in the match from an Arsenal perspective?
I think the man of the match for Arsenal is very, very easy to say. It's this guy. Because he was given the man of the match, and I think it was totally, totally fair.
Yeah.
Saliba now, man of the match at Anfield, Etihad, and Old Trafford. I mean, the performance today was different gravy. The way there was this chance in the second half where I think Garnacho had beaten White and Saka, and
Yeah.
he's running towards the Arsenal box, and Saliba just cuts him off with ease, and he looks so assured. He looks like every action he does, he goes like, "I'm that guy," and he plays like that guy, and it's amazing.
He's so reliable in those tough moments. You know what I mean? And I think that when you look at it, when you're looking at a team that really struggles for composure, you're looking for somebody to step up, and he is a technical leader in this team. He really is the platform that you build off a lot of your progression with. And I felt like you said, he covered Ben White pretty well, which I still felt like Ben had a couple moments where he was difficult defensively for him against Garnacho. But I think Saliba really, really strong. And I thought he also carried the ball well into midfield. I was looking for a bit more adventure from him when he did get it, because he was really the only player in the back six for me that really continuously had a very good idea of where he wanted the ball to go. I think everything was just a little pedestrian for me. There was either slow, lack of urgency, there was a lack of, um, you know, almost a lack of bravery to go between the lines, which I felt was so weird because when we did do that, we cut through them very, very easily. There were several moments when we were very positive in possession and we were able to really draw out kind of United's left hand side, our right. Um, and I think Bukayo himself probably could have done a little bit better in terms of moving the ball quicker. I felt at times we got the ball to him early. And while I don't think we made a lot of runs to open up for him, there still was a little bit of a difficulty in terms of getting him into the game, him closer to goal, because I thought he was going to be the one that would really open the game for us.
Yeah, yeah, I definitely agree. I think there was a few things missing in the performance for sure, and I think you're right in terms of bravery. The amount of times that United press onto us and we weren't breaking the press and we were just kind of waiting to play a pass, going along for the sake of it. Yeah, you're right. I think Havertz had a bit of an iffy performance. I think it's definitely is one of his worst up front in terms of affecting us holding the ball up. The amount of times the ball went up to him, and you could see he was frustrated. There are a lot of times where he kind of loses out to Evans, and he kind of runs, shows a bit of anger and stuff. But he got the assist, which is obviously the most important thing, with the opening goal. Now, in terms of the game itself, as you said, we talked about the defense was the most important aspect, and I think this stat that's we've seen after the game kind of sums it up.
Hmm.
The goals conceded, and that's after the XG as well, and how much better we are than City and Liverpool. George, if we win this title, is it mainly because of the defense?
It has to be, right? Like, I mean, it's not just the defense in terms of the individuals back there and the goals conceded. It's the second ball prominence. Like, we're an outlier in terms of the most effective team in winning second balls in the league. And I think our out of possession quality is what gives us our inevitability. Like when we kept talking about these debates throughout the entirety of the season, we looked at basically Liverpool, Manchester City housing game changers. We look at despite them not playing well, they're able to dig out points, they're able to dig out games. And I think that Arsenal have been throughout the entirety of the season, really, both in possession and out of possession, the best in the league by metrics. But they don't have that one moments player. They don't have that one player to decide a match when things aren't going your way. At least that's been the critique for them. But what hasn't been is that difference in the defense. I think that we have a different level of transition control to every single team in the league. And despite not playing well, take this game, for example. There's moments that we get transitioned on, but I mean, in terms of high quality shots on target, they're minimal. I think there must have been, I don't know the exact stats, but maybe there was 2 or 3 shots on target, both of which or all of which really came in the second half. And I think
Yeah.
2 of them were pot shots from outside. I think Anthony took a shot that I remember that had a deflection, easy save for Raya. Casemiro outside the box, easy save directly at Raya. So I think you're going to win this league based on your ability to keep your opponents from taking good quality shots against you.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I think this kind of sums up in the entire game. United had a 0.64 XG, and most of it came in the first half. And I think the biggest
Yeah.
chance they had was the Hoyland one where he kind of slipped and we
Hmm.
gifted the ball away. So I think even in terms of the second half, despite us not being our best, United did not make a single good chance. And I think that just shows how reliable our defense is. That we can go to these away grounds, and apart from Spurs, we could have gone, was it 6 or 7 games that without conceding an away goal, and the goals against Spurs we gifted to them. So it could have been even better. And I think that just goes to show how good. I think what the biggest aspect of our defense is the fact that we don't let shots go towards the keeper. We just block them off. The amount of times we'll get a shot off and it'll be outside the box and Saliba will block it, or Gabriel will get in the way. I don't think that's a coincidence.
Do you think that fans and Arsenal fans in general have we understood the assignment in terms of what we've been able to do in this run? Everything that I heard from people was basically Spurs, Chelsea, United. How do they fare? How do they fare in terms of the April test of the season? Where do you stand, mate, in terms of the context of this win? Because I think we can all agree that it was a difficult game from an individual perspective, but in terms of the result, 1-0 at Old Trafford, I think the amount of times that we've beaten Old Trafford in the last 20 to 30 years are something like 4 or 5. And in each of those, we haven't had more than a 2-goal margin. So to
Yeah.
sit there, I know how poor this United side are, but to sit there and expect maybe a 4 or 5-0 pasting was something that I wasn't comfortable with saying. But
Yeah.
how do you put the context of the win in terms of the run in terms of what Arsenal have been able to do? Because I think that makes it now 32 at an available 36 points that we've taken out of
Yeah.
the top 6. That's incredible.
Fantastic. And I think, you look at our record in this running right now. We talk about last year, and what we lacked was the bounce back. So we
Yeah.
lose a game in the running, we go and lose 2-3 more. We had this game against Villa, which they caught us off guard and they beat us, and that was fair enough. But from that moment there, to go and win 5 games in a row in the running, where you've been knocked out of the Champions League, you've got people doubting you again, you've got all the narratives coming out that, oh, this is the same Arsenal from last year. They haven't really built any character, they can't bounce back. You then go win 5 in a row and you go to some difficult games there.
Yeah.
Wolves away isn't easy. Neither is going to Spurs away or even the likes of Bournemouth or Man United. These aren't easy games. So it shows that we've come far from last year. That we are now to take the title to the final day of the season, no matter what happens against Spurs, is progress. It's massive progress. And, we can't classify the season as a failure now. Of course, it would be amazing to win a title on top of that. But it's progress from last year. And last year, we were very good. So the progress from last year, I think our total points tally was probably 82. I think now we're up to 86. So this points tally here is no joke. And I expect us to beat Everton on the final day of the season. And now we'll go up to 89. And, if City, if they get the result against Spurs and they go and, win their final game against West Ham, we can't do much more. And we talked about, I think you talked about yourself, for them to beat us, they have to make history. And that will be the case. It will be Pep's longest ever unbeaten run in the Premier League.
Yeah, period. And Manchester City's also longest unbeaten run in the Premier League as well. I mean, I've said it before in previous podcasts. They have to make history in order to beat us, and I'm comfortable with that saying, and that's officially going to be the case. I think it's going to come back down to a really exciting run-in, mate. Really exciting run-in. We've got the last game of the season. Do we have an Aguero moment in us? Do Tottenham do a favor beforehand? So many questions, but fundamentally, if you're going to have to go back over 5 months to find a time to which you're going to try to gain and garner points, it's going to be a frustration. I think in terms of the reflection point, it's very difficult to do when you're in this close and you're in with this title run-in still in play. It's very difficult to get perspective on that. But fundamentally, every team is going to go through issues. People are going to point to maybe Fulham, Villa, West Ham, points that we've dropped that we probably shouldn't have. But I mean, Manchester City have done the same. Every title challenger has done the same. And even if Manchester City, by the way, are to lose, and if we were to win, the Premier League, they would have only done so by a couple points. Are you sitting there then saying that Manchester City bottled it? And, I think if you're really being technical, Manchester City and Liverpool have both been on the tabletop longer than Arsenal this season. So I think from a perspective of bottle or not, I really push back on a lot of the commentary on that. I just think it's two incredibly competitive teams going for it. And, I think either could win it. You're relying on Manchester City to do something against the ground, by the way, that they've historically been very poor at. They've always done poorly against Spurs. So it's not as though that you're hoping for something that isn't likely. And, I think if the fixtures that we played last year were played now, Arsenal are champions. It shows just how tight that is.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think a lot of people point to this running. Back in December, January time, where we got knocked out of the FA Cup and had the three league games without a win, and three defeats in a row, and 4 in total in terms of without a win. Now, I think people look at it and go, that's same old Arsenal and the Mikel Arteta, where we lose a game and you lose 2-3 more, and that's for sure. That's a criticism there. But regardless of that, I think what I'm talking about is the bounce back after that. To go then and then go and win, was it 5 or 6 wins in a row? And you lose again, but you keep going. This level of consistency in 2024 is not normal. And that shows that we have improved. That shows that we're a different team to last year, to where in the run-in, we struggled. I mean, if we go back to our run-in form last year, it was awful. The draws against Southampton and West Ham and then Liverpool as well. The defeat to Brighton, Nottingham Forest. We're not the same team from last year. And it shows that in terms of the form. But you're right. It is still in City's hands. And I think there's a quote that's come up from Kai Havertz that kind of sums up the feeling, who says, "I'm going to be the biggest Tottenham fan ever on Tuesday." I'm not sure about that. I don't want to say that myself. But look, we are waiting at Spurs. It's going to be a weird atmosphere at Spurs, because they do need to win that game if they want to qualify for Champions League. But at the same time, they don't want to win that game. So how do you think Andrew's going to set up for that game?
He's gonna go for it, mate. I mean, fundamentally, this whole it's only fans that have this lunatic suggestion that the Tottenham players are going to purposely down tools or be on the beach or not try their hardest to advance. I mean, fundamentally, you're a team that's looking to progress. And by the way, if the situation was flipped and Tottenham were to go and try to win a title, I'm going to be saying the same thing. Arsenal, you win your game and you get in Europe, because I don't care what Tottenham do. I don't care about what other teams do. I'm more important and more kind of I'm more concerned about what my team is doing, where my progression is going. And I think that's going to be the message from Anne's perspective. I mean, you can't sit there and say that we're going to hopefully have our mind distracted just to hurt our rivals. That's the mentality that I think Spurs have had for so long. So I think from an Anne's perspective, he's just going in there saying, we've got to do our best, by the way, to stop this poor form, end the season on a high, and end it with really good performances to get ourselves into a position to attract players for the window. We see how important Europe is, especially
Yeah,
under new financial constraints. So it's no longer just a given to say that, the top 6 clubs that are the most popular clubs are going to get their targets. They need Europe to be able to do the potential business that they want to get done. So yeah, I really
100%.
I really doubt that that's going to be the case.
Yeah, I mean, you look at the table right now, and obviously we're focused on the top two sides, but Spurs in fifth and Villa in fourth. I think tomorrow's game is going to be very intriguing
Huge.
because Villa have got a game against Liverpool, which Liverpool obviously trying to end Klopp's reign on the victories, and if Liverpool are to win that game, then it opens up a chance for Spurs to close the gap further. Right now they are 4 points behind, but Emery's teams in this time of the season they drop points, and that's why I'm expecting maybe for Spurs to bring it back on. Now you look at Villa's form, they've won the last 2 games, they've been knocked out the Europa League, they
Yeah.
lost the game in the league as well, and Spurs themselves were on an awful run, 4 defeats in a row. But they've bounced back against Burnley. And you're right. You look at today, for example, and a lot of Arsenal fans thought we're going to United, a poor United side, they lost 4-0 in the last game against Crystal Palace. We're going to knock them out of the park. And we know that with our record at Old Trafford, it wasn't ever going to be that as easy as that, at
Mhm.
least. And it is a bit, we start to play the occasion. City's record, you're right, against Spurs is very poor. Very, very
Mhm.
poor. Especially Pep's record against going to Spurs.
They
And I
haven't won
think
at the
even
new
even even
stadium, mate.
even in the Champions League, they had I think a quarterfinal a few years ago where it was a semi-final quarterfinal where they lost the first game at home against Spurs as well. So
They have not won at the new stadium. By
they
all
haven't.
accounts, City have to make history. Whether you want to talk about it from their perspective, from the fact that of their opponent's perspective, look, does that guarantee or you talk in any black and white terms? No, but I mean, people thinking that it's over or whatnot are really fanciful, in my opinion. I think what you got to do is you got to enjoy today. That's fundamentally what we got to do. We got to enjoy the day, and then ultimately, we go on, we push on from afterwards. We just focus on Everton, and then we do our own business. You do your business. You set yourself up for the end goal, which is basically the hopefully Arsenal lifting the Premier League title.
Yeah, and that's the most important thing. And we talked about the running, and we talked about our form in the run and the victories we've got. I like the fact that we've not had amazing performances. That is a sign of a very good side because we've seen it with City. They had a really poor game against Forest a few games ago. Really poor game.
Yeah.
They should have lost that game, but they got over the line. And the fans don't really care about that. And so now we go to the final game of the season and we focus on ourselves. But I think, look, City's 2 games, they aren't easy. They haven't
No,
got the 2 relegated sides. They've got 2 teams that are, fighting for Europe, West Ham and Spurs. And so that's why I'm looking at those two and I'm going, look, it's a possibility they drop points, not lose games, but drop points. And that's what we're looking for, a draw here. And that's the beauty. Now, I did see a comment earlier saying that we missed a chance to take our goal difference higher. And I agree with that, in a sense, City have closed it down very well, but we can't do much more. I think we've scored the most goals out of any side in 2024. So to sit here and critique Arsenal for not scoring enough goals, it would be very harsh of me if I'm being honest.
especially at Old Trafford when you haven't had more than a 2-goal winning margin in over 30 years. I mean,
Yeah,
I don't think this is the game to do it. I mean, if you want to look at it, Everton, the game before this is not the game to critique that.
there's not. And then you look at the stats there. Arsenal scored 52 goals in 2024, more than any other club in the competition. We
Yeah.
conceded 8 goals, fewer than any other club, 11 clean sheets, more than any other club. That there is a team that deserves to win a title. And if City go undefeated because they're a team full of robots, then you have to say fair enough to them. But look, I still think there's a good possibility now, very good possibility they drop points in one of those 2 games. And I don't think it's definitely going to happen, but there's a possibility and that's a chance. And the fact that we've taken it to the final day of the season, it gives me a bit more confidence now. Today was a big test. You look at City yesterday winning 4-0. You wouldn't be surprised if the Arsenal players had dropped their heads today completely and lost the game or dropped points and gone, it's out of our hands anyways, and there's no point in fighting for it. But they held in there. They got the 3 points and we got over the line. Now let's go through, I guess, the individual performances. This is what Alex always does. So, he's a bit more of an expert than I am. Sorry, lads. Mr. Touchballs is not here today, but I am, and I do not encourage that. Right, let's go for the individual performances. Now we'll start off with David Raya in goal. Obviously keeping another clean sheet. He's already won the Golden Glove. What did you make of his performance?
It was a solid performance. I think reliable is the term. I mean, I still felt that there was times that he went long with his distribution that I don't think he was connecting with our team. But you could say that also Havertz wasn't really good about taking those balls down himself. So I think, but he was just very good in terms of being proactive. Putting his foot on the ball, and there were nerves, and so I think that he did a really good job about trying to calm those down. So I'd say reliable for David Raya.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. We'll start off with actually Tomiyasu, who look, he had a difficult game, up against Ahmad, who was surprisingly good, and I think he's a good player. I don't know why United don't start more often, but he held it down. There was no in terms of the entire defense, there was no moments where even if they got beat, that the other players weren't helping them out and they were supporting them. The only issue I had Tomiyasu was on the ball. In possession, I think he was a bit, I wouldn't say loose, but a bit stiff at times, and trying to get us passing, going forwards and progressing. But apart from that, I think he was all right.
I think he had a tough game. I'll be honest. I thought that there
Yeah,
was times that he just allowed the inside far too often, and I think that he's still working himself into a match fitness. So you take that. I thought we kind of went through it already. Like Saliba, man of the match performer for me. I thought he was brilliant on the day. I thought Gabriel was reliable. I still
yeah,
feel as though that he's not somebody that's finding the balls between the lines as much as he could do. He's normally very, very progressive, especially stepping into midfield and finding our eights. And I just think that that's kind of stopped a little bit. He's become a little bit more safe in terms of his passing, and so that's just been a struggle. But he was reliable as always in duels. So I thought him and Saliba did very, very well.
very well. And obviously Ben White had also a very difficult game against a good player in Garnacho. He's very direct
Yeah,
and he's very, he's got a lot of skill in him as well. So for him to, he held it down. Every time he got beaten, he was there, he was returning, and he was getting helped out by Saliba and Co. And it's a sign of a good defense where if your player does get beaten, the other players are there to support you. And
yeah,
you got a bit more trust in those players behind you. When you've got Saliba next to you, I think Ben White survived, and it's good to know that he survived in a game where normally against United he is a bit poor. He's normally up against Rashford, but this
yeah.
time against Garnacho, it was a tricky customer, but we got over the line and White played a part.
Yeah, and I mean, like, going into midfield, I mean, Declan Rice is probably the best of the bunch, but it was not
Yeah,
very much to separate it. I
yeah,
thought Declan had a really good job in the final third in terms of just carrying and being an outlet for us in midfield, but generally speaking, the entire midfield did really poor. I thought Thomas Partey probably had the worst match of the team, I'd
yeah,
say in general. He really, really struggled to be progressive, and I thought that Martin Odegaard struggled to turn in contact. I thought that, he did really well defensively, but I mean, in possession, there was some really good moments. I think he sells some people for some good shimmies, but ultimately, I don't think he was strong enough in possession either. So the midfield had a really difficult day today, I think, and that's not something that you can often say against this Manchester United team, who I felt they played three DMs in a sense, and so they definitely were there to stifle the midfield, but I think that we could have done a lot better. Especially in possession, our touch, our composure, our ability to find people. It wasn't brave, it wasn't urgent as well. It was really, really slow. So yeah, I thought Declan is probably the best performer in the midfield, but generally speaking, the midfield struggled quite a bit today.
yeah, massively. I think we lack security. Every time we're trying to play out at the back in the build-up phase, there was a lot of mistakes, and we saw it
Yeah.
with Partey in the first half, in the first few minutes, where he gave the ball away. And I think
Mm.
that's where once Jorginho came on, I think we looked a little bit more secure, but it was for the final few minutes, so we can't make much of it. But
Yeah.
regardless of that, you're right. I think Partey it was a very loose performance, and I think in a game like this, is not what you need. There was a moment I think in the first half or second half, we were building pressure, and he did his lovely little skill in United's half, and you're going, okay, that's what he's good at. But when you're playing as a six, in this half side, you're playing around your own box, you can't make no mistakes there. And I think that's where a lot of Arsenal fans would have been concerned. Let's go to the front line though, where you got Trossard's goal and Havertz's assist, and Saka's. He was a solid performance, I think, as well. Who do you think the standout player was in the front three?
Saka for me. I thought that Kai Havertz really struggled to get himself involved in the game. I mean, he did well in terms of his defensive contribution. I think Leo, Trossard, I don't know. It's such a strange thing, the left-hand side. I know we've talked about it so many times here about the structure in terms of what we platform, and I just see that side as really a place where attacks go to die, so to speak. And so that's something that we struggled with. But again, he pops up with just a really important goal, and mate, like, his goals to minute ratios is just absolutely incredible. And he just does such a good job in terms of helping the left back defend. So he's really able to crash inside really, really well. And I think that's the one reason he's actually playing, to be honest. Not only is he providing output in moments in that sense, but I think also just defensively, the way that he's able to snap back into the center of the pitch for us and our press is brilliant. And it's what I think at least has helped Diallo, who I thought Ahmad had a really good game for United. For me, he was probably the best player on the pitch, to be honest with you. And he was giving Tomiyasu a tough time, but Trossard was really good in terms of backing him up. But maybe for us in possession, Saka, but defensively, Trossard really, really was top.
Yeah, 12 league goals for Trossard this season, and he's had 17 league
Yeah.
starts. That he's not far off Martinelli's tally from last season. And I think I think in all comps he's not far off in terms of beating it as well. I think he's got 17 now in all comps, which is very impressive, especially with the magnitude of the goals. Another match-winning goal from Trossard.
Yeah.
The goal against Everton early in the season, the opening goal against Wolves, the goal equalizer against Bayern Munich. Trossard's made a lot of impact, and that's why it's a weird one, because we all know that he's not going to be a starter next season, but he has to be a part of the squad. And I think with it on the wages that he's on as well, you look at the news about Gabriel Jesus and potentially letting him go because he's on massive wages. Trossard's a player you have to keep. Just keep him around because he gives you a base level that you need in the squad, especially in a game like this where you can see the rest of the players off it. They're not nowhere near their best. You've got a player there to just pop up and score a very important goal.
I just feel like he's a player that provides efficiency in a team that can struggle with that in the final third. Really,
Yeah.
really simply. He's just somebody that's always reliable in terms of making the right decision, the right contact in the right moment. And, I think, yeah, it was difficult, but it's difficult to contextualize a signing like that, mate. What, 26, 27 million pounds? For the last 18 months, has there been a better or more impactful sub
Yeah, pound for
that's
pound.
now turning into a starter? Really, I mean, he started,
Yeah,
so
he's a starter now.
it's difficult. It's difficult to really. Every time I feel Trossard is one of those players that everyone admits does well, and he's a consistent 7 out of 10. But then when you start understanding the numbers and you start looking through it, okay, how many goals does he actually have right now? How many goals and per minute does he actually have? And then you start seeing the numbers, and you're like, bloody hell, he's brilliant, isn't he? And he's one of those players that just sneaks up on you. So, yeah, I love him. I love him, and I think he just has to continue doing what he's doing.
Yeah, his goal kind of summed him up. He just nipped up on
Yeah.
Wan-Bissaka and just put it into the back of the net. He's a very important player to have around the squad. Now I've seen a lot of comments today, and I can see that a lot of people aren't happy with the performance, and I wasn't either, to be quite honest. But we have to contextualize that we are right now top of the league with one game left of the season. We've taken it to the final day of the season, and I think we are kind of nitpicking at this point in the season. If we're looking for goal difference as reasons to be disappointed, look, I wasn't happy with the performance, but I'm happy with the result. And I feel like a lot of fans aren't. They're as if we had to have won this game 4-0. It was a good chance, against the poor United side, but it didn't happen. Regardless, you got the 3 points, you walk out of there and you keep it moving.
Look, at the end of the day, I struggle with this idea to really get it beyond just poor performance, top of the league, good result, a win at Old Trafford, something that we haven't done historically very well. Like I said, go back in the last 30-year history of this fixture, we've maybe won 4 times, and none of them have been more than 2-goal margins. So to sit there and basically say that this was the goal difference time, I really push back on that. Did I want a better performance from the boys? Of course I wanted a better performance from the boys, but fundamentally I got the points. We're pushing it to the last day of the season, and the only thing that matters right now is match day 37. By the way, if you want to talk about performance, okay, let's talk about it from the entirety of 2024. Who has been the best performing team, both in the league in terms of goals conceded, goals scored, clean sheets done. So if you want to talk performances, I'm ready. Let's have that conversation. But don't sit there and do it in an isolated game at match day 37.
Yeah, I think that was the point that I was trying to make as well. Is the fact that we've been so consistent in 2024
Yeah.
that even in what was probably our worst performance or poorest performance in the league, at least, we got 3 points. We kept a clean sheet. We went to a big 6 ground where we don't have the best records, and we walked out with 3 points. It shows, I think, the standard is definitely increased at Arsenal, and the fans expect
Yeah.
more and more. If we don't win 4 or 5-0 against sides that we should, that fans are disappointed. So it is what it is. But for me, as I said, the context is very
We
important.
also are the team that have scored the most 5-0s in the
Yeah.
league.
Yeah, look,
So, like,
there's no need to be concerned. I think that's what I'm seeing
yeah.
right now from quite a few Arsenal fans. Is concern of, oh, it wasn't an amazing performance. And look, it wasn't an amazing performance. But at this stage of the year, I think you're about just getting over the line. We
Yeah.
know, I always say from up to match day, I guess 30, 33 or 32, it's about how you how you play and your style of play and being sustainable. But past that, it's about
It's the
getting over the
run-in,
line. And
mate.
I think And you look at the performance against Spurs, it wasn't too different in a sense. We were sitting back, counter attacking, and only I think because you scored more goals in that game, fans are a bit more happy. But it is what it is. 3 points at Old Trafford, at Old Toilet. Did you see the video after the game of the water just spraying down there? Yeah,
It's
they need to get that fixed. They need to get that fixed. But look, Eric Ten Hag, you did well, Eric. I'm guessing you won on Field Tilt. Now I wanted to get the Field Tilt up, but Scott Willis can't post it because he's busy. So if United did win on Field Tilt, then congratulations. I think you should trust your process, and you'll come good next season. But for now, thank you for watching as always on the Cannon Podcast. Me and George here. Alex is not here, but we will not play the clip, especially when he's not here. We take it to the final day of the season. We'll see you guys very soon. Thank you as always for watching. And yeah, one more game to go for now. I don't want to say come on, you Spurs, but yeah, listen, mate, Ange, if you could do us a favor, it'll be a pleasure, mate. Anyways, cheers. Take care.
Cheers.